Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. Oh boy. Well, the weather around here has been absolutely sucky lately. Oh gosh. I have been stuck in the house for the last 4 days. We had an ice storm. We had the mother of all ice storms. It has brought trees down every which way, blinked the power a few times, caused all kinds of havoc. For one thing, the gutter along this side of the building, I was sitting there watching some TV and tinkering with my computer, and I heard a kaboom outside and went, what the heck? And went out, and what had happened was the gutter had filled full of, something corked it up, and it filled full of water, and the water froze into ice. And the minute it turned into ice, it got really, really heavy. And it ripped the gutter off of the side of the house, and it came down with a big kaboom. And I went out to see what the heck had gone on, and I found it. It's another expense I've got to come up with money for. Anyway, a lot of people are facing busted pipes and all kinds of issues. It's not so much the freezing, it's the thawing. It started to thaw today. The rains came, and the rains are really helping the thaw, but unfortunately, the minute it thaws, that's when the real problems start. And they're starting. Well, anyway, I was going to gripe about something today. This is a gripe video. The rifle I'm working on right now is my Austin Halleck flintlock, which is an absolutely gorgeous gun. I don't know if you can see it, but here, ooh, it's also bloody heavy. But this is a gorgeous gun, just absolutely pristine and beautiful. And it has this nice buckhorn sight on it, and it's just a lovely gun. Well, what I've been doing is cleaning it. I haven't shot it much recently, but regardless, I think I should clean it and make sure that it's well oiled, because it's wet right now. The rains are really coming down. Anyway, when I clean a gun, I usually use Ballistol. This is the can that Ballistol used to come in for the aerosol, and it's great. Problem is, this is the can it comes in now, and this costs what that used to. In like manner, this is what Rem oil used to look like in an aerosol can. And this was Rem oil before Remington went bankrupt, and they distributed the various pieces of the company to various people. I think Ruger got the lion's share of it. But this is what it came in back when, and it's the aerosol. They don't make an aerosol. Now they make this spritz can, and it holds less, costs more, and I'm not sure who's making it, but it's the same formula. Come on, guys. This is shrinkflation. It's affecting everything. By the way, do you ever buy a can of coffee? You know, coffee used to come in a hermetically sealed steel cans, and you'd pop the top, and when you did, it goes. It was kind of, and the phrase, or I mean, the aroma of the coffee beans comes out. You do that now, and there's a space about yay big at the top of the can. By the way, the cans used to be 32 ounces, and now they're 24 ounces. But it's 24 ounces, it says, even though if you weigh it, it doesn't weigh 24 ounces. And there's about that much space at the top of the can. It's enough that it just doesn't last as long, and it costs more. It's just the way of the world these days, it seems. You go and buy some chips. Take a look at how many chips are in a bag. It's just ridiculous. You know, the whole thing is just silly. It's the world we live in. Oh well. And even gun companies seem to be picking up on this trend, which is, if you can't charge enough to make it worthwhile for your customers, we'll just charge the same and give them less. Oh well. Such is life. You know, we are on the verge of a Great Depression right now, and the only thing holding it in check is the fact that they're limiting inflation to only about 16 to 20% yearly. Seriously, I mean, when I was first working, now granted, I was making minimum wage then. I was working as a grease monkey in a local garage. And Grease Monkey's the guy who changes oil and lubes it and stuff. And, you know, I'd pump gas and all that. Well, it was a Chevron station, and I had a Chevron uniform on. I think I made, it was $2.60 an hour, $2.60 an hour. And at that time, at lunch, I would go to a local restaurant and I'd get what's called a blue plate special. A blue plate special means a meat, usually meatloaf or maybe a sliced turkey or something like that with gravy over it, mashed potatoes, some vegetable like corn or beans, and a roll, a dinner roll, and a cup of coffee, $1.25. That was my lunch. What my lunch cost. Now that was half an hour's worth of work to do that. So you know, it seemed to be a fair trade-off. This was a real dive restaurant that was in a poorer area of town, I'll grant you. It was a place called Milt's. It was on Central Ave in Albuquerque. It's interesting because it was in an area called District 332, which was the ladies of negotiable morality that plied their business in that area. And they used to eat lunch over at at Milt's too. And so when I showed up at lunch every day, you know, they'd show up and have their cup of coffee and their lunch, and they'd look over, "Hey, Pilgrim," you know, whatever, you know, they would call me. They knew me by name. I did not know them professionally, but I knew them as lunch buddies. And I would hear about all of the political people in town and the newscasters and everybody else. I had tales to tell. I could tell tales. They told me tales. Ooh, that was something else. Anyway, you should clean your guns, even if you don't use them. You should clean them at least once a year. And in our wet weather up here, I try to do it at least every 6 months or so. And as you know, I've got a lot of guns, so that takes a lot of time. But it's a fun thing to do when you're stuck in the house, which is what I've been doing for the last few days. Clean a gun a day, and you know, by the time you get done, it's time to start over. Anyway, this is a beautiful gun, absolutely beautiful gun, and I love it. If I was a bit older, a bit younger, excuse me, I would take this out on primitive hunting, and try and get an elk with it. That would be awesome. But my hunting days are long past. I have a bad knee, and going up and down a canyon to find an elk, shooting it, then field dressing it and hauling it out to the pickup. I don't look forward to that. I would rather get meat in its natural environment, the grocery store. But you know, nothing will beat a fresh elk for filling up the freezer for the wintertime. Oh well, those days are gone. But at least I have them in memory. And you've seen some of my shooting videos. You can see that I do still enjoy going out into God's country and just, you know, shooting at targets. And where we go shooting is just breathtakingly beautiful, just beautiful. If you like mountains and forests and the like. Anyway, just griping about that. Looking at the news today, I see there was a major earthquake recently in Tokyo, or in Japan, that killed 200 and some odd people. The Houthis are still shooting off things at ships going through. Hell, they did a rocket attack on a container ship, an American container ship, and I guess they did some major damage to it. I saw a picture of it. Terrible. There's wars in Ukraine. Looks like Nicaragua and Guyana are about to go at it. Israel, of course, and Hamas. China and Taiwan. It's a world war. Like it or not, it's a friggin' world war. The world is at war. It's not a war over a thing like fighting to protect democracy against Nazism or the war to end all wars or any of that. No, it's none of those things. And it's not nukes. It's just low-level insurgencies and conventional weapons so far that are being used, but they're just using a lot of them. Funny, but during the last administration, I don't think we got into any new wars at all, and we were doing our best to try and keep out of others and negotiate our way out of wars. Do you remember the Abraham Accords? Yeah, that didn't amount to much after some old man took over. We're doomed. It's my attitude. We're doomed. That's why I love my canyon up here, because at least I've got food, and here I'm using a lot of it because of the weather. But I try to restock, keep things stocked up, and I get canned goods, dry goods, beans and rice and lentils and the like, and what is it? 20 bean or 20 type. I forget. It's a multi-bean soup thing mix you can get. It's really good. You just stick it in water, soak it overnight, and then boil it until it's soft, and you end up with a beautiful beautiful soup, and it makes a good meal. And it gives you all the proteins you need, really. Also, I can grow a whole lot of potatoes in my garden, and I do. But that's got to plan on this next spring. It's the thing is that the people who live in rural areas and understand how to get by, if bad came to worse, well, heck, I can use this and go squirrel hunting. Got squirrels all over the place around here. My grandfather came from this area and raised my mom during the Great Depression. He did a lot of poaching, I'll grant you, but he kept his family fed, and that's all that really matters. Regardless of rules, that's what matters. Keep your family fed. Family comes first, then nation, but family first. And people have forgotten that one. They've lost sight of family. Well, I don't know. I'm just ranting. Not really, nothing really to talk about. No new guns. I can't afford them at the moment. But if I ever have any loose cash laying around, well, this time I'm going to have to spend it on gutters instead of a new gun. But I usually go to a local gun store, or maybe I negotiate a deal with a friend. But I'm not much for gun shows anymore, because you go to a gun show and what do you see? Purses, candy, jerky, lots of jerky. No guns. Oh yeah, there's a couple of professional dealers that have AR parts laid out. Well, I'm not a fan of plastic guns. I never was. Black rifles, no. I like wooden stocks, I like wood and metal. This is what a gun should look like, in my opinion. And I'm not one for taking up arms against the redcoats, though if I was alive then I would have, or taken up arms against a tyrannical central government, which was what was going on in 1860. And I would do that then, but now, no. The only time you'd ever take up arms is to protect your family, and that's just the way I believe. Anyway, I'm just mumbling now. By the way, thank you for all the folks who've decided to subscribe and watch this drivel that comes out of me. Because heck, I don't have much of anything to say. I'm just a dumb old hillbilly, really. Anyway, it's getting late, and I've got to go do chop some wood up, get it ready for the evening, because I've got a regular furnace. It burns electricity, and it would also eat me out of house and home in terms of the power bill, which is another gripe I've got. I live in the Pacific Northwest. All the power around here comes from hydropower, meaning it comes from dams. Dams built on taxpayer money, probably in the 1930s through 50s, have been amortized for 50 years at least. They're at least 70 years old, and they sent out the power to power companies who charged for it and paid them, and it paid for itself, which means that all the money from those dams that comes out now, all the electricity, is free, basically. All the power company has to do is pay for maintenance, which they never do. They're always problems with those big high wires that they have. That's what caused the Beachy Creek fire here. And yet they charge us more and more for that power. What's with that? They're getting it free from the government, and then they charge us arm and a leg for it. And it doesn't cost them a damn thing. Oh well. Another gripe. Anyway, that's about all I got to say. Happy trails.